Greetings and welcome to our next lesson, 10.1 from Unit 10 on probability and statistics in your Big Ideas, page 402. I appreciate you being here with me tonight. I know it's a choice. It's always a choice. You have things you want to do and like to do. You got Facebook time, you got baseball time, you got dance time, you have friend time, you have TV time, computer time, all those things that you want to do. And they are a priority for you. I understand. And I do appreciate you realizing that there is time to do both. Take care of both your education and all those things that you want to do. Knowing that your education is going to end up being the most valuable thing you do for yourself. So I do appreciate you setting aside the time, figuring out when can I get this done? When am I spending my 45 minutes, putting in the great attitude and effort that is required during that time so that this stuff becomes easier. And not just math, not just doing it the way I'm asking you to do it every night and setting up that work ethic, setting up that character building and the intelligence that you get. Everything that you're doing here in math does transfer to everything you're going to do in life. I don't care if it's English class. I don't care if it's a job at Taco Bell. So I do appreciate everything you're doing to further your education and make yourself the best you can be. I'm here. I'm going to help you all along the way. You just have to make that choice to do what I'm asking you to do. So let's get started on Unit 10, Probability and Statistics, page 402. Today, we are going to describe the outcomes of an experiment. Our essential question: in an experiment, how can you determine the number of possible results? Ladies and gentlemen, you took some notes. They were very brief notes, but they were notes from outcomes and events from the top of page 402. That is a part of what I ask you to do. Take those notes first. That's the first encounter you have with the material. Then we discuss it again. Then you come to class and we discuss it again. That's 3 times that you get to discuss this material versus the traditional way of me in class standing in front of you on one day and giving it to you and expecting you to know it. This gives you 3 times and more time to understand this material, especially if you're doing it the way I ask. So, if you would please, there is not a lot of space, but hopefully you can add in to where you put your notes with our possible outcomes here by writing 2 red, because we have, oh wait a minute, there's not 2 red, there's 2 green. 2 green, 2, let's see, there's not 2, there's 1 purple, 1 blue, 1 yellow, and 1 red. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, these are possible outcomes. They are just possible outcomes. So when we talk about outcomes, we're talking about these being the possible outcomes. These are the outcomes that we can have when we perform an experiment. And when we perform an experiment, we are performing an event. An event is 1 or more outcomes. So in other words, I reach into a bag with these marbles in it and I pull a marble out. That is an event. The marble itself, what it is, could be a specific outcome. But the actual process of pulling that marble out is an event. Okay? Like it says here, event, choosing a green marble. Okay? Well, we do have 2 green marbles. Those are the favorable outcomes of choosing green. When we come over here and we look at these 6 marbles, 2 of them being green, so the favorable outcomes of wanting to pull a green is green, green. We have 2 of them. All right, makes sense? Something else we're going to talk about on our second video, complementary events. So you don't have to take notes on that right now because we are going to take notes later, but I am going to mention it real fast. Complementary events is the opposite of the favorable events. In other words, if there's 2 green, then the complementary event is not green. So how many are not green? Well, we have the red, the yellow, the blue, and the purple. So there are 4 that are not green. Basically, complementary events are the opposite. okay, of the favorable events. All right? Well, let's move along with identifying outcomes. You guys know what a coin is. Let's talk about flipping a quarter. What are the possible outcomes of flipping a quarter? That's right. We have heads. We have tails. Those are the possible outcomes. What are the favorable outcomes of flipping tails? Well, there's only one favorable outcome for flipping tails, and that is tails. I didn't ask how many. That would have been one. I asked for what is the favorable outcome for flipping tails, and I would have tails. Okay? If I were doing the previous outcomes, if I was talking about the marbles here, and I wanted to know what are the favorable outcomes for choosing a green marble, I would write green marble twice. But since there's only one tails, we write tails once. If there were 4 tails on the coin, then we would write tails, 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 tails. Make sense? All right. Let's see. You pick a number from a deck of cards, and those cards are numbered 1 through 10. What are the possible outcomes? Well, those possible outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Those are all the possible outcomes. What are the favorable outcomes of picking an odd number? Okay, so there's more than one odd number up here, so we have to list them all. We can pick 1, we can pick 3, we can pick 5, we can pick 7, and we can pick 9. Those are the favorable outcomes for picking an odd number. And what are the favorable outcomes of not picking a number less than 4? Well, sometimes doing the complementary event, the opposite, would be to find out what is the probability of actually picking a 4. And that would be, a number less than 4. So what numbers are less than 4 from 1 through 10? Well, we'd have a 1, a 2, and a 3. Those would be the probability of the event of picking a 4. So the probability of not picking a 4, the opposite, would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So these are the answers for the probability, or the outcomes, the favorable outcomes of not picking a number less than 4. Every single one of these numbers is not less than 4. And our last example for the day, before we go to our first quick write, says you pick a card from a standard deck of 52. What are the possible outcomes? Well, we're not going to list them all because that's 52 cards. I'm not going to write all 52 down. But if I were to give you this question on a test, you better write all 52 down. All right? But I'm just going to go, hey, we have the hearts, and there's ace through king. How many is that? Ace through king. How many cards ace through king? Do you know the number? That's right, there are 13 cards that are hearts. And then we have the diamonds, and that would also be ace through king. And then what other cards do we have in a deck of cards? That's right, we have the clubs. I'm not a very good drawer here, but we're going to go with what we can do. And we have an ace through king of clubs, and then we have the spades, which to me is an upside down heart, and that is also ace through king. So there's 13 of each one of those 4 types of cards. So 13 times 4, that is 52. We could list them all if we wanted to. Part B, what are the favorable outcomes for picking a heart? Well, all the hearts. Well, let's go back to red. I like red. All the hearts, we can pick an ace, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What comes after 10? Yeah, you're right, 11, but that's not what happens in a deck of cards. We get a jack, we get a queen, and then we get the king. That should be 13. Right? So those are the favorable outcomes for picking hearts. What are the favorable outcomes of picking a queen from the standard deck? Well, there is a queen for every suit in the deck of cards. There are 4 suits, so we have the heart queen, we have the diamond queen, we have the club queen, and we have the spade queen. So those are the favorable outcomes for picking a queen from the deck. Ladies and gentlemen, our first quick write. You randomly choose a shape from the bag. Take a close look at this bag. You might want to pause as you're answering these questions and use it. So you have 3 parts for A. What are the possible outcomes? What are the favorable outcomes of choosing a triangle? And what are the favorable outcomes of not picking a polygon? All right? So I guess that means you need to know what a polygon is. Anyway, when you're done, take a quick break, grab a snack, talk to mama, help her with dinner, whatever you're going to do, text a friend, and then come back and let's finish our time. I hope you're using a timer. Use a timer. If you use a timer, you will find that time will go quicker, and you'll force yourself to do what I'm asking you to do, and you'll find it will be easier. I promise you. See you in a few.